Good afternoon. It is a great honor to be with you here today. I'd like to thank Rob and Kristen and Helen for the kind invitation. IASA is capably led. I love public education, and I love public educators. And so people have asked me a ton whether or not I was nervous, and I was actually more excited because I feel like I'm talking amongst friends. And I consider many of you my friends, and the only ones I don't consider my friends is I haven't had a chance to meet you yet. So looking forward to that. Some of you may be wondering why or what were my qualifications to be invited to speak today. Allow me to share with you my number one qualification. I took home the Nobel Prize. Of course, they told me they would drop the charges if I returned it within 3 days. It's great to be an American, especially in an exciting, controversial election year. And so for those of you who believe in free speech, raise your hand. Well, you're getting one today. I'm not sure if everybody here is aware, but if you can stay awake during the entire presentation, my talk, Rob Winslow has promised everybody $25. They'll come out of the leadership premium monies. Okay. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay, is that better? Could you hear me before, or should I start over? All right. Dwight Richards is saying, just get on with it. So we'll just get on with it. I've learned a few things as an administrator, and some of you might want to take notes on these. These are words of wisdom that I have discovered. If you loan somebody $20 and you never see them again, it was probably worth it. If you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he sits in a boat and drinks beer all day. And of course, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you. So some of the things they didn't tell me when I was going to be an administrator, they just didn't share these things with me, which I wish they would have. That 100% of the kids will learn 100% of the standards at 90% of last year's funding. Hell hath no fury like a mother of a cheerleader scorned. If you guys have served in IHSA, you know what I'm talking about. I see you, Eric, right there. There you go. Introducing technology into the classroom with only one electrical outlet. How much snow is too much? And which is better, Tums or Rolaids? Well, I'm grateful to be a member of IASA. And as was mentioned, a former proud past president. I am impressed with the talents of the educational leaders that comprise our association. And you have so many talents that I admire. One is that if I could only handle interesting political challenges with the grace of Mary Ann Reynolds. If I could be as knowledgeable with data usage as Don Coberly. If I could be as methodical and thoughtful like George Boland. Or keep up on legislation like Ron Bollinger. Or handle loss of a cell phone like Chad Williams. Sorry, that's just inside. He lost it on the golf course. Okay. But the list goes on and on. We have some tremendously talented educational leaders here today. Public education is a huge blessing. It's been a huge blessing in my life. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be an Idahoan, and I'm proud to be a public educator. I grew up, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I grew up in northwest Wisconsin, in the middle of stinking nowhere. The language you spoke there was kind of a combination of Norwegian and redneck. And so all the good things in my life that have happened to me are a result of the blessings of the good Lord and public education. I grew up very, very poor. In fact, we were so poor, when people would break into our house, we would rob them. We didn't have a lot in the way of food. And so I was so skinny, my pajamas only had one stripe. Oh, come on, that was better than that. That's just geez. I'm here all week. Chuck, you're supposed to help me out there. Roger, Hampton, where are you? You're supposed to be laughing there. Okay. Not only were we poor, but I has also suffered from tremendous ADD. And of course, they didn't have a label for it back then, so they just said ASS. Well, because of a wonderful land in which we live, a land of freedom and hope and opportunity, and because of public education, not private education, not parochial education, but public education, am I here today. An educator for over 30 years, and I've earned 5 university degrees, and being able to associate with people like yourselves. Because of public education, it opened that door for me. And this is what you do. You bring hope. You bring hope to people. You are hope bringers. That's what you do as educational leaders. Teachers, of course, but also administrators. What you do is vitally important. Benjamin Franklin once stated, "You make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give." We are fortunate that in public education, in our profession, we allows us to do both. First, to make a living by being educational leaders, and simultaneously make a life by giving of ourselves every day to our students. President John F. Kennedy stated, "Children are the most important or valuable resource and its best hope for the future." And Dr. Martin Luther King made the statement, "Make a career of humanity." We're going to touch on that theme again. Make a career of humanity. That is what we do as educational administrators. That is what you do so well. Now, this room is filled with bright, caring, and learned people. You would be successful regardless of career choice, but you chose to make a career of humanity. I'm now going to share something with you that you do not often hear, and I'm glad you're sitting down for this. Are you ready? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you for your patient and devoted service to children, despite having to deal with often grumpy, irrational parents. And some people shouldn't have become parents. They should have just joined the bowling league. I'm just saying. Cable sports program is available. Some people should just invest in it. Think about that one for a bit, and then you'll come to it. Okay, despite having to make sense of the blizzard of nonsensical laws, policies, and dictum to which we are not given adequate funding, yet to which we are held responsible. Thank you for enacting reasonable policies, repairing buildings, patrolling hallways, parking lots, breaking up fights, stopping or at least stemming the tide of illegal drugs and pornography that permeate our society and sadly filter into our schools. Thank you for calming down overzealous patrons at ball games and being the voice of reason in board and community meetings. For all of that and providing a world-class education in your districts and schools, thank you. You have my gratitude and you have my respect. Now, my theme today is remember. Remember. Please walk with me through the recent years of Idaho educational history. Charter schools, iron-fisted high-stakes testing, inflexible nationally imposed standards, incomprehensible star rating system, longitudinal data systems, and merit pay. Do you remember when we administrators were all getting together and planning these highly successful reforms? Man, those were good times when we thought, geez, if we could only impose an 18-page teacher evaluation rubric, collect and send in 569 data points monthly to an allegedly impenetrable level 5 national security educational system, completely immune from hacking, yet so open that parents can drill down into the data with a laser-like focus. Sorry. Remember all of us thinking that if we could only have some awesome and exotic Teachscape videos which could easily double for interrogation purposes at Guantanamo. I mean, where did they dig these teachers up at? Holy cow. Remember when we discussed starting a charter school that used the Bible as text, or land a Race to the Top grant, or fire 50% of our staff and demand that all kids be 100% proficient to an ill-conceived, poorly developed, arbitrarily designed test before graduation that was imposed statewide because someone got to be the vice president at a testing company after the 3-year contract was issued. Remember the incredibly intelligent, pedagogically accurate requirement that all 12-year-olds must have a career plan. I'll tell you what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old. I wanted to be a pro football player. Just look at this bod. I'm the before picture in the weightlifting ads. That's what I wanted to do when I was 12. You know, if only the coaches recognized my talent, I could be in the NFL today. Don't know what they were thinking. Remember when we thought if we could only be led statewide by those who were never educators because they magically knew so much about our profession? How wonderful that would be. And remember when we collaborated on the lovely $26 million SBAC test? Remember we thought, let's have a 9-hour test for third graders where we don't get the results back for 5 months. Remember our input with those great ideas? I don't either. I believe that none of the aforementioned non-workable reforms would have happened had we, the state's real educational leaders, been consulted. You are the leaders. You are the experts. You need to be the one that our state leaders listen to when it comes to education policy and directives. They should, because you are. I'll give you an example. In my district, we have a 98% graduation rate. 2,818 college credits were earned before kids graduated. 95% of kids are planning on attending a post-secondary institution. Students received $900,000 in scholarships, and last year we won 5 state academic championships. Take that, Albertsons. Now, my district is not unique. Your schools and districts are also excellent and very effective. Now, however, despite this success, I have never had a politician stop by to visit and ask, how do you do that? What makes for a successful school or district? How could we replicate what you are doing statewide? Not one, ever. Ever. Now, I'm not the best superintendent in the state by a long shot, but I have 30 years in the business and 5 university degrees. I don't weigh in on water policy. I don't understand farm practices as well as I should. I don't make comments about a lot of things going on, but I do understand public education and how it works. All I ever hear now is that we need to be more accountable. Despite what I just read to you, we need to be more accountable. Frankly, I find this highly offensive. We are already accountable. We, principals, hold teachers accountable. Principals are held accountable by superintendents. Superintendents are held accountable by school board members. I meet with my school board twice a month, and we review everything. Believe me, everything. That's accountability. And school board members are held accountable by the patrons in the districts. Any new accountability measures are simply more onerous hoops we have to jump through, imposed by people who often are far removed from the classroom. We should be swamped by legislators and others who make statewide decisions, asking us for our informed expert advice and not just occasionally for a quick opinion. This conference should be the most important conference and educational meeting of the year. Why? Because the leaders are here. They're right here. You are here. Remember, you do what you do, not for politics, not for profit, not to plaster your face and name all over the state or place your friends into executive positions in testing companies, but rather you serve in your leadership positions for humanity. Let me be very clear. We do not have a K-12 education problem in this nation. We have a massive political problem in this nation. The USA also has an enormous poverty issue caused in large part to our ill-begotten and obtuse politics and terribly lopsided taxing policies that favor the ultra-wealthy. There are millions of people out of work due to stupidly brokered and short-sighted international trade policies. Too many highly educated people, including thousands of engineers, STEM folks, by the way, who cannot find meaningful work. Due to pure greed and avarice, our medical insurance system is broken. Where average middle-class families cannot afford insurance, are not given time off work for illness, have to hold community fundraisers to cover the cost of their medical care, and are not provided paid maternity leave. The U.S. childhood poverty rates are among the highest in the industrialized world. I find this particularly shameful, as the USA is the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. Remember, we have a political problem, not an educational problem. So instead of attacking public school teachers and administrators who do their very best every day with extremely limited resources, politicians should try solving income inequality, inequity, racism, poverty, stop intentionally downsizing American jobs, and facilitating anti-American outsourcing of industry and manufacturing employment to foreign countries. It makes one wonder if these government officials and their corporate cronies ever heard of economic patriotism. Politicians should work to develop well-paying jobs here in the USA and create a financial enforcement system where people do not have to go bankrupt if they have a medical emergency, and actually prosecute Wall Street financiers and bankers who ripped us off billions. All I ever hear today from politicians is about tax relief. We got to have tax relief. I, for one, do not see taxes as a burden. I see them as an investment. Taxes are the price we pay to live in a civilized society. I want good roads, bridges that don't collapse, protected state and national parks, well-stocked libraries, well-provisioned police, fire and ambulance services, and of course, well-funded schools. People flock to communities, states, and nations that provide this high quality of life and of service. And when you do that, businesses and industry follow. We only enjoy these quality of life services if citizens are paying their fair share of taxes. Listen, Bill Gates ain't starving. He and other ultra-rich people should pay more in taxes. They should, and they certainly can. Newsflash. I'm glad you're sitting down for this. I know this was coming as a surprise to all of you. We are living in a time of a great teacher famine. The teacher and administrator shortages are real. This famine is a direct result of Idaho education salaries being much too low, and the last 2 years of relatively sound funding have not been sufficient to address the shortfalls. Idaho has deliberately, systematically, and structurally underfunded public education to the tune of about $500 million. Couple that along with 8 straight years of continuous verbal and legalistic assaults on the teaching profession by those in power. No wonder people are leaving in droves or not wanting to sign up. The toxic climate and the under or non-funding was occurring long before the recession hit in 2009. If we want a world-class education system, and we do, we need to fund it. People put their money where their mouth is. We pay for what we feel is important. Doing more with less is just a slogan. I want you to say the M word with me. Say it with me. Money. Money. Yes, it takes money. Money and resources are essential. If money is important to the military, for proper health care, for space exploration, homes, highways, roads, bridges, businesses, and churches, then certainly money is essential for public education. Do you ever notice why professionals are not leaving the Boise School District or BYU Idaho? Professionals that work in those organizations are paid well and are treated with professional dignity. The solution to attracting and retaining educators is not rocket science. If we do not change this political tax myopia, this fund on the cheap, and this sometimes often anti-teacher anti-district, anti-public education mindset, the logical alternative is Somalia, which is a no-tax haven. No taxes at all. Just a lot of marauding gangs with whoever has the biggest guns take what they want. Improving schools must proceed along with the improving the lives of children. If we think that imposing a standardized curriculum and punitively enforcing subsequent high-stakes tests will eliminate poverty and raise up all children, we are wasting time and money that could be spent on reducing class sizes, raising teacher salaries, increasing time for unstructured recess, raising money for the arts, and making sure that all children have proper and timely medical care and food security that enables them to be ready to learn. The reform agenda to which we have been subjected to for the last decade is not about children. It's about profit. It's about profit over people. Profit, not people. Remember, we know what works. The most essential factor in successful public education is the positive professional relationship between the teacher and the student. Therefore, our most important role as educators is to facilitate, support, and enhance the role of the teacher. Everything else is ancillary. Technology is merely a tool, not an end in itself. Therefore, the best education always takes place person to person, first in the home and then in the local classroom. We attract and retain these amazing educators through much higher salaries and creating statewide a positive, supportive culture where professionals feel supportive and appreciated. I proposed a 40-50-60 plan. We have a career ladder plan, which is great. Mine was much more aggressive. Start teachers out at $40,000. In 8 years, they could be making up to $60,000, and then you do leadership and merit pay on top of that. Problem? It's expensive. Then the question, what about accountability? My plan is just a one-pager. Everybody's on a 2 to 3 year rolling contract like administrators. After the first 3 years, teachers in years 4 and on, 2 to 3 year rolling contracts. 2 appeals. They get a bad evaluation, one to the superintendent, one to the board. Then they can become a free agent after a year or 2. Well, other groups didn't like that. My plan was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Our society needs to hold educators in esteem where our profession is revered and not reviled. We also know that early childhood education works. For every dollar invested into preschool, there's a $7 to $13 return. Not bad. We know it works. Massive amounts of research indicates that this is so, but we don't want to fund it. As leaders, you have answers to people's questions and to children's issues. You know what you're talking about. You've taken the courses, you have the practical experience and the knowledge base to look students, staff, parents, and legislators in the eye and say, yes, I know what to do, and more importantly, how to do it best. Just give us the resources we need and then get out of our way. There is more educational expertise in just one of our local schools than in all of Boise and Washington, D.C. bureaucrats and politicians put together. All we need are the necessary resources to make it happen, and then miracles occur every day. If we truly believe in the mission of public education, then we need to be positive and supportive about our profession 24 hours a day. Folks, we have the best educational system in the world. The United States does something that no other nation does. We take every child. We take every child. We accept every child that comes through our doors. This doesn't happen in most every other country in the world. I firmly believe that public education is the social glue that holds this state and nation together. It is the only institution where children of all races, creeds, religions, abilities, and income levels come together to learn, play, get along, and work together in a common setting. How will our Muslim and Christian children learn to get along if they're separated with Quran or Bible-based fundamentalist charter schools? How will our increasingly racially diverse students come to understand one another when they are segregated via selective enrollment charter schools? Any effort to divide or segment public education through choice, or of whatever variety, ultimately enables and codifies social disintegration. In our neighborhood schools, kids learn how to learn. They learn right from wrong and how to get along. In our schools, kids learn tolerance, kindness, and inclusion with those with physical or mental challenges. Our neighborhood public schools do not engage in discrimination and/or segregation, and therefore greater understanding is facilitated among children who come from these different backgrounds. It is in traditional public schools where they learn rules of sportsmanship, fair play, discipline, and how to address tough issues in and out of the classroom. Public school provides perhaps the only level playing field a child will ever know. I believe that public schools also provide a safe haven for many children in these perilous times. For many children, school is the only place where they get a decent meal, are treated with care, are shown respect by adults, and are taught correct societal values and principles. Schools give children hope. Teachers and administrators give children hope. Hope for a better tomorrow, hope for a better future. You get up every day and come to work for humanity. Your schools are a beacon of hope for thousands. Schools are an island of safety, a refuge that kids can cling to in their worlds all too often filled with drugs, abusive and/or absentee parents that often lack proper nutrition and experience an absence of social boundaries. Let us confidently tell everyone that public schools are the schools of choice. Let's fight against the political dissection of public schools. No one in our community should feel compelled to choose an alternative method of education because they perceive the quality of our work as inferior. No one. No one. Let's prove the critics wrong, because they are wrong. Public schools are worth supporting and defending, and we say it with pride. We will change the tide of propagandistic reform negativity by continuing to be the best, because we are the best, because you are the best. Thank you, and have an excellent school year.